I stand in the doorway of the large colonial house I have lived in for 30 years, watching my daughter-in-law Lauren pack the car. She turns to me with that familiar, condescending smile and says, "We won't need you this time, mother-in-law. Just make sure the house is clean." My son Tyler loads the last suitcase without meeting my eyes. The children don't even say goodbye. That evening, I sit alone in the silent kitchen, staring at the keys in my hand. Tomorrow morning, everything changes. Sleep doesn't come for me that night. I sit in my late husband's study, surrounded by his belongings and the memories of building this home together 40 years ago. The oak desk where he used to pay bills still holds his fountain pen. The bookshelves he built by hand line the walls. This room smells like him somehow, even after 12 years. I pull out the metal filing cabinet and retrieve the original deed to the house. There it is, clear as day. Candace Marie Porter, sole owner. My husband left it to me when he passed. This house was our dream, our accomplishment, our legacy. We saved for years to buy this property, worked overtime, sacrificed vacations. We planted every tree in the yard. We chose every tile in the bathroom. This place holds our entire lives. 6 years ago, when Tyler married Lauren, I invited them to move in temporarily while they saved for their own place. I wanted to help my son. I wanted to be close to my future grandchildren. That temporary arrangement became permanent when they had 2 children, Sophie and Jack. At first, I didn't mind. I loved having a full house again after so many quiet years alone. But Lauren gradually took over everything. She redecorated the living room without asking, throwing out the cream curtains I had sewn myself and replacing them with stark gray panels. She converted my sewing room into a home gym, boxing up my machine and fabric stash and relegating them to the garage. When I protested, Tyler said, "Mom, we need the space. You barely use that room anyway." That wasn't true. I used it every week. But I swallowed my objections because I didn't want to cause problems. Then came the incident with my mother's china. I came home from the grocery store to find Lauren loading boxes into her car. She had thrown away my mother's complete set of blue willow dishes, the ones passed down through 3 generations. "They were old and chipped," Lauren said with a shrug. "I ordered us a new modern set. You'll love it." I didn't love it. I cried for days. But Tyler sided with Lauren. "Mom, they were just dishes. Lauren is trying to make this house nice for all of us." The disrespect grew slowly, like mold spreading behind walls. Lauren constantly criticized my cooking. "Too bland," she would say, pushing her plate away. "Can you try to make something edible next time?" She criticized my cleaning. "Did you even vacuum today? I can see dust on the baseboards." She criticized everything about me, from my clothes to my hobbies to my friends. I found myself sleeping in the smallest bedroom upstairs while Lauren and Tyler took the master suite. My suite. The room I shared with my husband for decades. Lauren redecorated it completely, removing every trace of the life I had built there. Lauren told friends and neighbors it was their house and that I lived with them. I heard her on the phone once, saying, "Yes, Tyler's mother lives with us. It's challenging, but we're patient with her." As if I were a burden they graciously tolerated. Tyler changed over the years. The sweet boy who used to bring me dandelions and tell me I was the best mom in the world became a stranger who barely spoke to me. He always sided with Lauren. Always. When I tried to talk to him alone, he would say, "Mom, you're being dramatic. Lauren is just trying to help." At dawn, I call my late husband's best friend, Harold, who is a real estate attorney. My hands shake as I dial. "Harold, I need your help," I say when he answers. "I need to know my legal rights." I explain everything. He listens without interrupting. "Candy," he says finally, "that house is yours. Completely and legally yours. You have every right to reclaim it. They're guests who overstayed their welcome." "What can I do?" I ask. "Well, since they're gone for 2 weeks, you have options. You can file a formal eviction notice. It needs to be done properly, but I can help you expedite it. My heart pounds. Can we do it today? Yes, Harold says. Come to my office in an hour. By 10 o'clock that morning, the eviction notice is filed with the county. It's legal, binding, and properly documented. Harold backdates it appropriately and ensures everything is ironclad. Then I make another call. My niece Emma just got divorced 3 months ago and has been sleeping on her friend's couch with her 15-year-old daughter, Paige. Emma is a nurse working double shifts, trying to save enough for an apartment deposit. Emma, I say, how would you like to rent a house? 3 bedrooms, big yard, safe neighborhood, below market rate. Aunt Candy, I can't afford anything right now, Emma says, her voice tired. $500 a month, I say. There's a long pause. That's incredibly low. What's the catch? No catch. I own a house, and I need a good tenant. Are you interested? Yes, Emma says immediately. Yes, absolutely. When can we move in? Today. By noon, Emma and Paige arrive with their belongings. It doesn't take long to move in since they don't have much. I help them settle into the bedrooms upstairs. Emma takes the room that used to be my sewing space. Paige takes the small room where I've been sleeping. I gather my personal belongings, the photo albums, my mother's jewelry, my husband's papers, the things that matter. I place the house keys on the kitchen table. Next to them, I leave a brief note on plain paper. This is my house. You have been given 30 days' notice to vacate. All legal documents have been filed with the county. Do not contact me. My attorney will handle everything. I don't explain. I don't apologize. I don't justify. That afternoon, I sign a lease for a small 1-bedroom apartment downtown. It's nothing fancy. The carpet is worn and the kitchen is tiny. But it's mine, and it's peaceful. As I close the door to the apartment that first night, I realize something. I don't feel sad. I feel free. 9 days pass. I don't answer Tyler's calls, and there are many. I let them go to voicemail. I don't listen to the messages. On the 9th day, Tyler, Lauren, and the kids return 3 days early from their trip. Lauren is already in a foul mood because Tyler's credit card was declined at the resort. They had to cut their vacation short and drive home arguing about money the entire way. As they pull into the driveway, Lauren notices unfamiliar cars parked there. A blue sedan she doesn't recognize sits where she usually parks. Who is that? Lauren asks, pointing. Tyler frowns. I don't know. Maybe Mom has company? Lauren gets out of the car, already irritated. She marches up to the front door and tries to use her key. It doesn't work. She tries again, jiggling the lock. Nothing. Tyler, something's wrong with the lock, she calls. Through the window, she sees someone moving inside. A woman she doesn't recognize is walking through the living room. Lauren's living room. She pounds on the door. Hey, open up. Emma opens the door, looking confused. Can I help you? Who are you? Lauren demands. And what are you doing in my house? Emma blinks. Your house? I'm sorry, but I'm renting this house. Who are you? Renting? Lauren's voice rises to a shriek. This is my house. Get out right now before I call the police. Tyler comes up behind Lauren, holding Sophie's hand. Jack clings to his leg, frightened by his mother's yelling. There must be some mistake, Tyler says, trying to sound calm. This is our house. We live here. Emma's face shows genuine confusion. No, I have a lease. I'm renting from the owner. Let me get the paperwork. She disappears inside. Lauren tries to push past the door, but Emma returns quickly with a folder. She shows them the lease agreement, signed by Candy, with the property address clearly listed. She shows them receipts for rent paid. The owner is Candy Porter, Emma explains. She's my aunt. Candy is Tyler's mother, Lauren says, her face reddening. And this is our house. She lives with us. No, Emma says gently. Candy owns this house. She showed me the deed. She said she had guests who were leaving. Tyler pulls out his phone and calls me. It rings and rings. No answer. He tries again. Still nothing. This is insane, Lauren says. She pushes past Emma and walks inside. This is my furniture. These are my things. Actually, Emma says, following her, most of this furniture was here when I moved in. Candy said it belonged to her and her late husband. Paige appears at the top of the stairs. Mom, what's going on? It's okay, honey, Emma says. Just a misunderstanding. But it's not a misunderstanding, and everyone knows it. Neighbors start coming out of their houses, drawn by Lauren's shouting. Mrs. Patterson from across the street stands on her porch, watching. Mr. Garcia from next door pretends to check his mailbox while listening. Lauren calls the police. Someone has broken into my home, she tells the dispatcher. There are squatters. I need them removed immediately. 2 officers arrive within 15 minutes. Officer Bradley and Officer Chen step out of their patrol car and approach the house. Lauren rushes to them. Thank goodness you're here. These people have taken over my house while we were on vacation. Ma'am, calm down, Officer Bradley says. Let's sort this out. Do you have proof this is your house? Of course I do, Lauren says. She pulls out her driver's license, which shows this address. And you? Officer Chen asks Emma. Emma produces the lease, the rental receipts, and then the key piece, a copy of the deed showing Candy as the sole owner of the property. The officers examine everything carefully. Officer Bradley walks over to Tyler. Sir, is your name on the deed? No, Tyler admits. It's my mother's house, but we live here. We've lived here for 6 years. Did you have a rental agreement with your mother? Officer Chen asks. No, it's not like that. She invited us to stay. This is our home. Officer Bradley asks Emma, do you have the eviction notice that was filed? Emma produces a copy. The officers read it carefully, checking the dates and signatures. Ma'am, Officer Bradley says to Lauren, according to these documents, you were given proper notice to vacate. The owner of this property has the legal right to evict you and rent to someone else. That's ridiculous, Lauren says. His mother can't just kick us out. We live here. Our children live here. If your name isn't on the deed, and you don't have a lease, then you're considered tenants at will, Officer Chen explains. The owner can terminate that arrangement with proper notice, which appears to have been given. This is insane, Lauren repeats. Tyler, call your mother right now. Tyler tries again. No answer. Do you have somewhere else to stay tonight? Officer Bradley asks. This is our home, Lauren insists. According to the law, it's not, Officer Chen says. You have the remainder of your 30-day notice to retrieve your belongings and find other housing. These people have a legal right to be here. You don't. Lauren's face goes pale, then red, then pale again. I want to speak to your supervisor. You're welcome to file a complaint, ma'am, Officer Bradley says. But this is a civil matter at this point. You'll need to contact an attorney if you want to dispute the eviction. The officers leave. The neighbors slowly go back inside, whispering to each other. We need to see Mom, Tyler says. Within the hour, Harold arrives with the sheriff. I arrive with Harold, my heart pounding but my face calm. Lauren sees me and rushes over. What have you done? How could you do this to your own son? To your grandchildren? I don't answer her. I look at Tyler. Everything you need to know is in the legal documents. Harold will explain. Harold steps forward. Mrs. Porter has been the sole owner of this property for 40 years. You were guests in her home. She has decided to terminate that arrangement and has followed all legal procedures to do so. But she promised, Lauren says suddenly. She promised us this house. We've been making payments to her for years. This is news to me, and I see Harold's expression shift slightly. Lauren pulls out her phone and shows bank statements. There are indeed monthly transfers to my account. $2,000 a month, Lauren says triumphantly. We've been paying the mortgage. There is no mortgage, Harold says. The house was paid off decades ago. Well, taxes then, Lauren says. Insurance, whatever. We've been paying to live here. I finally speak. You were contributing to groceries and utilities. Nothing more. I pull out my own records from my purse. Every month, I had them write groceries and household expenses on the check memo line. I kept copies of every deposit with those notes. Harold shows these to the sheriff, who nods. But Lauren isn't done. "Fine," she says, her voice shaking with rage. "But you verbally promised to give us this house. You said it would be ours someday. That's a verbal contract." "I never said that," I reply quietly. "You did," Lauren insists. "Tyler heard you. Didn't you, honey?" Tyler looks uncomfortable. "Mom, you did say something once about how you wanted us to have a good home. That's not the same as promising to give you my house," I say. The sheriff looks tired. "Folks, this is clearly a family matter that needs to be resolved in court if you can't work it out among yourselves. For now, the eviction notice stands. You have 21 days remaining to vacate." Lauren isn't done yet. She looks at me with pure hatred. "You'll regret this," she says. "We're not going to just walk away." And I realize that this is only the beginning. 2 weeks pass. I think the worst is over. I'm wrong. Tyler and Lauren hire an attorney named Gerald Stone. I know the name because Harold mentions it with concern. Gerald Stone is known for aggressive tactics and winning cases through intimidation. They file a countersuit. The papers arrive at my apartment on a Tuesday afternoon. I sit on my worn couch and read through them, my hands shaking. They're claiming adverse possession and unjust enrichment. They argue that because they lived in the house for 6 years and made improvements, they have a legal claim to ownership. The list of improvements is extensive. They spent $12,000 converting my sewing room into a home gym. They installed new appliances in the kitchen for $8,000. They renovated the master bathroom for $15,000. They redid the landscaping for $6,000. The receipts are all there. They claim they made these improvements believing the house would be theirs. They argue that I led them to believe I was giving them the property. The lawsuit also paints me in a terrible light. They describe me as a vindictive, possibly senile old woman who is punishing them for some imagined slight. They claim I'm becoming forgetful and irrational. They're using my age against me. They file for an emergency injunction to stop the eviction process. I call Harold immediately. "Can they do this?" "They can file anything they want," Harold says. "Whether they'll win is another matter. But Candy, I have to be honest with you. This is going to get expensive. We're talking about months of legal battles, depositions, court appearances." "How much?" I ask. "Could be $20,000 or more in legal fees," Harold says. "I'll work for a reduced rate because of my friendship with your husband, but there are court costs, expert witnesses, filing fees." I feel sick. My savings aren't infinite. I live on Social Security and a modest pension from my years working as a school secretary. The court grants a temporary delay on the eviction until a hearing can be scheduled. The hearing is set for 6 weeks away. This means Emma and Paige have to move out temporarily. Emma is devastated. "I'm so sorry," I tell her. "This is my fault." "It's not your fault, Aunt Candy," Emma says. But I can hear the strain in her voice. "We'll figure something out." She and Paige move back to their friend's couch. I feel terrible. I dragged Emma into this mess, and now she's suffering for it. Then Lauren launches a social media campaign. She posts on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. She shares photos of her home with captions about how it's being stolen by Tyler's unstable mother. She posts pictures of Sophie and Jack looking sad, with captions like, "Explaining to my children why Grandma is taking away their home." She writes long posts about how she took care of me for years, how she cooked for me and cleaned for me, and made sure I took my medications. None of this is true. I cooked for them. I cleaned. I don't even take medications except for occasional ibuprofen. But her posts are compelling. She's a good writer, and she knows how to manipulate emotions. She frames herself as a devoted daughter-in-law who sacrificed everything to care for her aging mother-in-law, only to be repaid with cruelty. The local community Facebook group explodes with gossip. People I've known for years start commenting. Some defend me, but many believe Lauren's version. The story spreads quickly. Ungrateful mother kicking out her own family. Sweet young mother losing her home. Poor children being traumatized. Someone eggs my apartment window one night. I wake to the sound of shells cracking against glass. At church the following Sunday, people I've worshipped with for decades avoid me. Betty Marshall, who I've served on committees with for 20 years, walks right past me without making eye contact. Frank Stevens, who my husband helped build a deck 10 years ago, turns his back when he sees me coming. I sit alone in the pew. I try to focus on the service, but I can feel eyes on me. I can hear the whispers. After the service, Pastor Jim approaches me. "Candy, I've been hearing some troubling things. Is everything all right?" "It's complicated, Pastor," I say. "Family disputes usually are," he says kindly. "But surely there's a way to work this out. Those children need stability. Even my pastor seems to think I'm in the wrong." I leave church early and cry in my car. The preliminary hearing arrives. I dress carefully in my best navy dress, the one I wore to my husband's funeral. Harold meets me at the courthouse. "Remember," he says, "stay calm. Don't let them provoke you. Just tell the truth." We enter the courtroom. Tyler and Lauren sit at the other table with Gerald Stone. Lauren has dressed simply, looking like a struggling young mother. She's even crying softly, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. The judge, a stern-looking woman named Judge Patricia Morrison, reviews the case files. Gerald Stone speaks first. He's smooth, confident. He presents their improvements to the house, their 6 years of residency, their good faith belief that the property would be theirs. Then he presents something I never expected. "Your Honor, we also have this document." He hands something to the bailiff, who passes it to the judge. My stomach drops. It's a handwritten note on my stationery. The stationery I used years ago, with little roses in the corner. The note reads, "I want you and Tyler to have this house. It's yours now. Love, Mom." There's a date at the top, 3 years ago, April 15th, and there's my signature at the bottom. I stare at it in disbelief. "I never wrote that," I say. Harold leans over to examine the document. "Your Honor, we'd like to request a handwriting analysis." My client does not remember writing this note. "Doesn't remember?" Gerald Stone says smoothly. "Or doesn't want to remember. Your Honor, this is exactly the kind of behavior we're concerned about. Mrs. Porter is 68 years old. She's clearly having memory issues. She writes a note giving her house to her son and then completely forgets about it." "I didn't write that," I say more firmly. Judge Morrison looks at me over her glasses. "Mrs. Porter, is this your stationery?" "Yes, but is this your signature?" I look more closely. It does look like my signature. The loops are similar. The slant is right. But something feels wrong about it. "It looks like my signature, but I don't remember writing that note," I say. "Your Honor," Gerald Stone continues, "this document, combined with the 6 years of residency, the substantial improvements made to the property, and the monthly payments, clearly indicates that my clients had every reason to believe the house was being transferred to them." "Your Honor," Harold interjects, "we request time to have a handwriting expert analyze this document." Judge Morrison considers. "I'll grant that request. However, Mrs. Porter, I have to tell you, if this document is authenticated as your handwriting, you may be fighting a losing battle. A written statement of intent to gift property, even without a formal deed transfer, can constitute a legal gift in some circumstances." My heart sinks. Furthermore, Judge Morrison continues, "If you've been fighting over a house you already gave away, you could be liable for damages, court costs, and compensation for the disruption you've caused." Harold argues about improper execution and the need for witness documents in property transfers, but I can see the judge is skeptical. We leave the courthouse, and I feel defeated. Harold tries to be encouraging, but his face shows concern. "Did you write that note, Candy?" he asks gently. "I don't know," I whisper. "I don't think so. But what if I did? What if I was having a good day and feeling generous, and I wrote it and forgot?" "Let's wait for the handwriting analysis," Harold says. but doubt has planted itself in my mind. Am I losing my memory? Did I promise them the house and forget? Am I the villain in this story? That night, I sit in my apartment, staring at the walls, wondering if I'm going crazy. 3 weeks crawl by. The handwriting expert's report finally arrives. Harold calls me to his office. I sit across from his desk while he reads the report aloud. The expert says the handwriting shows similarities to your authenticated signatures. However, there are also inconsistencies. The pressure of certain strokes is different. The formation of some letters varies slightly. His conclusion is that the evidence is inconclusive. He cannot say with certainty whether you wrote it or not. What does that mean? I ask. It means the ambiguity works in Lauren's favor, Harold says grimly. In civil cases, the standard is preponderance of evidence. If the judge thinks it's more likely than not that you wrote it, she'll rule against us. The hearing date arrives 2 weeks later. I barely sleep the night before. In court, the handwriting expert testifies. He explains his findings in technical language about stroke pressure, letter formation, and baseline consistency. But his conclusion is the same: inconclusive. Gerald Stone argues that even if there's some doubt about the note, everything else points to an intent to gift the property. The long-term residency, the improvements, my acceptance of their monthly payments, my verbal statements about wanting them to have a good home. He brings Tyler to the witness stand. My son sits there, looking uncomfortable, but he testifies. Did your mother ever tell you she wanted you to have the house? Gerald Stone asks. Yes, Tyler says quietly. She said it several times over the years. She'd say things like, "This house will be yours someday," and "I want to make sure you and the kids are taken care of." My heart breaks. I did say things like that. I meant after I died. I meant in my will. I never meant while I was still alive, still needing a home myself. But I can see how those words could be twisted. Lauren testifies too. She cries on the stand. She talks about how she took care of me, how she tried to be a good daughter-in-law, how she planned her entire future around this house. We put our life savings into improving that home, she says, tears streaming down her face. We thought it was ours. She told us it was ours. I want to scream that she's lying, but Harold squeezes my arm, reminding me to stay calm. The judge takes a week to make her decision. That week is the longest of my life. When we return to court, Judge Morrison reads her ruling. After careful consideration of all the evidence, I find in favor of the defendants, Tyler and Lauren Porter. While the handwriting evidence is inconclusive, when taken together with the other evidence, the long-term residency, the substantial improvements made in good faith, the monthly payments, and the witness testimony about verbal promises, I find that there was an implied agreement to transfer the property. I can't breathe. Mrs. Candy Porter is hereby ordered to transfer the deed to Tyler and Lauren Porter within 30 days. Additionally, Mrs. Porter is ordered to pay the defendants' legal fees in the amount of $18,000 and to compensate Emma Rodriguez for the disrupted lease in the amount of $3,500, $21,500. I don't have that kind of money readily available. The gavel falls. It's over. Harold puts his hand on my shoulder. I'm sorry, Candy. I truly am. I've never seen such an unjust ruling. I walk out of the courthouse in a daze. Lauren and Tyler pass me in the hallway. Lauren smirks. Tyler looks away. Back in my apartment, I calculate my finances. I'll have to drain most of my retirement savings to pay the judgment. The money I was hoping to leave to Tyler, ironically, the money I saved carefully over decades. Emma calls me that evening. Aunt Candy, I heard. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I dragged you into this, I say. I'll get you that money as soon as I can. Don't worry about it right now, Emma says, but I can hear the strain in her voice. She needs that money. She's still sleeping on her friend's couch. 2 days later, Tyler finally calls me. I answer, hoping for some compassion, some acknowledgement that this is hard. Mom, we need you to sign the papers quickly, he says. Our attorney will send them over, and we're going to need that money you owe us within the 30 days. Tyler, I say, do you understand what you've done? You've taken my home. You've taken my savings. Where am I supposed to live? There's a pause. When he speaks again, his voice is cold. Mom, Lauren was right about you. You've become bitter and selfish. You tried to throw us out on the street, and now you're playing the victim because you lost. I don't think we should talk for a while. Maybe when you're ready to apologize properly, we can work on rebuilding our relationship. He hangs up. I sit on the floor of my apartment and cry harder than I've cried since my husband died. Lauren posts on Facebook that night. Justice prevails. So grateful for a fair legal system that protects families. Despite everything, I'm willing to forgive and move forward. Some people just need time to accept the truth. She sends me a text message an hour later. You can come visit your grandchildren once you apologize properly. If you behave, we might let you do some babysitting. We could use the free help. I turn off my phone. The next day, I start packing up my husband's remaining papers. I've been keeping them in a storage unit, the few things I grabbed from the house. I need to bring them to my apartment since I'll need to sell the storage unit to save money. I'm going through an old box when I find his daily planners. My husband was meticulous about documentation. He kept a planner for every year of our marriage, writing down appointments, expenses, important events. I'm about to pack them away when something makes me look closer. I find the planner from 3 years ago and flip to April 15th, the date on that supposed gift note. My husband's neat handwriting fills the pages, and there, on April 15th, I see it. Candy in hospital, hip surgery recovery. Day 4, still heavily medicated, barely conscious today. My heart starts racing. I flip back a few days. April 11th. Candy emergency surgery, broken hip. Got call at 3 a.m., at hospital now. I remember this. I fell on the stairs in early April 3 years ago. I broke my hip badly and needed surgery. I was in the hospital for 8 days, then in a rehabilitation facility for 2 weeks after that. I was so heavily medicated during that time that I barely remember it. I was on morphine for the pain, sedatives to help me sleep. Tyler and Lauren visited once or twice, but I was barely conscious. There's no way I could have written that note. I wasn't even in the house. I couldn't even hold a pen properly because of the pain medication and the injury affecting my mobility. The hospital records will prove it. I grab my phone to call Harold. But before I can dial, my phone rings. It's Harold calling me. Candy, he says. We have a problem. A big one. What now? I ask, my voice hollow. Lauren and Tyler have filed a new motion. They're claiming you're mentally incompetent. They're seeking to have you placed under conservatorship with Tyler as your conservator. The room spins. What? They're arguing that your behavior over the house proves you can't manage your own affairs. They're saying you have memory problems, that you forgot giving them the house, that you're making irrational decisions. They want control of all your finances and medical decisions. I sink onto the couch. They want to control everything. Yes, Harold says grimly. And Candy, if they succeed, Tyler would have the legal authority to sign over your remaining assets, put you in a nursing home, make every decision for you. You'd lose all independence. Can they do that? I whisper. They can try. The hearing is scheduled for next month. And here's the worst part. If they win the conservatorship before the house transfer is finalized, Tyler, as your conservator, would sign the deed transfer on your behalf anyway. It's a trap. A perfect trap. Even if I fight it, I lose. Harold, I say, I found something, my husband's planners. The date on that note, I was in the hospital. I couldn't have written it. There's a long pause. Can you bring those to my office tomorrow? Yes. First thing in the morning. Good. But, Candy, we need to be prepared. They're going to come at you hard. They've already gotten statements from some of your neighbors saying you seem confused and forgetful. What neighbors? I'll send you the list. But one of them is your sister, Diane. My sister. My own sister has betrayed me. There's more, Harold says. I need to warn you. They're building a case that paints you as someone who can't be trusted to make decisions. They're going to use your age, the court loss, everything against you. This conservatorship hearing is going to be brutal. After Harold hangs up, I sit in silence. They're taking everything. My house, my money, my freedom, my dignity, and now they want to take my very right to control my own life. I look at my husband's planner, at his careful handwriting documenting my hospital stay. This is my proof. This is my evidence. But will it be enough? The next month is a nightmare. Lauren and Tyler's new legal strategy is devastatingly effective. They submit medical opinions from a doctor I've never met, claiming that people my age often suffer from mild cognitive decline that affects judgment. They present screenshots of confused elderly people from social media as examples of age-related mental incompetence, drawing parallels to my irrational behavior. They get statements from two neighbors, Mrs. Patterson and Mr. Garcia, claiming I seem confused and forgetful. Mrs. Patterson says she saw me looking for my car keys in my purse for 5 minutes last month. Mr. Garcia says I asked him twice about his grandson's name. These are presented as evidence of serious mental decline. My younger sister Diane provides the most damaging testimony. In her written deposition, she says, "Candy has always been dramatic and emotional, but lately she seems confused. She called me last month and asked if I remembered something from our childhood that never happened. I'm concerned about her ability to manage her affairs. The thing she's referring to was me asking if she remembered the name of our childhood cat. She said we never had a cat. I was certain we did. Later, I found a photo proving we did have a cat named Whiskers. But Diane's testimony makes me sound delusional. My longtime doctor, Dr. Matthews, retired last year and moved to Florida. The new doctor at the practice, Dr. Singh, barely knows me. When Harold reaches out to him for a statement about my mental competence, Dr. Singh says he can't make a strong statement either way since he hasn't treated me long enough to assess my cognitive function. His neutral response works against me. Two of my church friends, Betty Marshall and Carol Ann Jenkins, refuse to testify on my behalf. I don't want to get involved in family disputes, Betty tells me when I call her. It's not my place. The conservatorship hearing is scheduled for 1 week before the house deed transfer deadline. If I lose the competency hearing first, I'll be forced to sign over the house anyway because Tyler, as my conservator, would do it on my behalf. The legal fees are crushing me. Even with Harold's reduced rate, I've paid $11,000 so far. I'm eating canned soup and crackers to save money. I haven't bought new clothes in over a year. I don't even turn on the heat in my apartment unless it's absolutely necessary. I can't sleep. I've lost 14 pounds. When I look in the mirror, I see a tired, worn-out old woman staring back at me. Maybe they're right. Maybe I am losing my mind. Maybe I did write that note and forgot about it. Maybe I am making irrational decisions. Harold presents my husband's planner to the court, along with my hospital records from 3 years ago. The records clearly show I was hospitalized from April 11th to April 19th, with the alleged note dated April 15th. The records show I was on morphine, sedatives, and had limited hand mobility due to the hip surgery and resulting weakness. A new handwriting expert examines the note specifically in light of this medical information. He testifies that the signature's pressure and flow are completely inconsistent with someone in that medical condition. Someone on morphine, with limited mobility and sedation, couldn't have produced such a steady, clear signature. This should be enough. This should prove the note is forged. But Lauren has an answer for everything. Gerald Stone argues that maybe the date on the note is wrong. Maybe I wrote it a different day and dated it incorrectly. Maybe I wrote it before my hospital stay or after, and simply put the wrong date. People make mistakes with dates all the time, Stone argues. It doesn't mean the note isn't genuine. He also produces statements from medical experts saying that morphine affects people differently, that some people remain quite lucid on pain medication. The judge seems uncertain. The evidence is compelling on both sides. Then, 3 days before the hearing, something happens that makes everything worse. I'm in Harold's office reviewing testimony when his phone rings. He answers, listens, and his face goes pale. I see, he says. Thank you for letting me know. He hangs up and looks at me. Candy, Lauren has accelerated the conservatorship timeline. She's filed for an emergency competency evaluation. She's claiming you're now recruiting vulnerable people into your delusions and that you're becoming a danger to yourself and others. What? That's insane. She's referencing Emma. She's claiming you manipulated your niece into an illegal housing scheme, causing her financial harm. She's painting you as someone who can't distinguish reality from fantasy. But Emma wanted to help me, I say. I know. But they're twisting everything. The emergency evaluation is scheduled for the next day. A court-appointed psychologist will interview me and determine if I'm competent to make my own decisions. I barely sleep that night. What if I say something wrong? What if the psychologist thinks I'm confused? What if my grief and exhaustion come across as mental instability? The next morning, I sit in a sterile office across from Dr. Patricia Williams, the court-appointed psychologist. She's kind but clinical, asking me questions about my daily life, my memory, my decisions. Can you tell me what you had for breakfast this morning? She asks. I freeze. I was so nervous that I didn't eat breakfast. But what if that makes me seem forgetful? I didn't eat breakfast, I say. I was too nervous about this evaluation. She writes something down. Do you remember what you had for dinner last night? Chicken noodle soup. From a can. Can you count backwards from 100 by sevens? I do it. Slowly but correctly. She asks about my medications. I tell her I don't take any regular medications, just occasional ibuprofen for arthritis. Your daughter-in-law says you need help managing medications. Is that not true? No, it's not true, I say. I've never needed help with medications. She asks about the house, about the note, about my decisions. I explain everything as calmly as I can. When the evaluation ends, I have no idea if I passed or failed. That evening, as I'm sitting in my apartment, there's a knock at the door. I open it cautiously. It's Julie, Lauren's younger sister. I haven't seen Julie in over a year, not since a family barbecue where she and Lauren got into an argument about something. Julie looks nervous. Her hands are shaking. Mrs. Porter, she says, can I come in? I need to talk to you. I let her inside. She sits on my couch, fidgeting with her purse. I don't have much time, she says. Lauren can't know I'm here, but I can't stay silent anymore. I know what she did. My heart starts pounding. What do you mean? Julie takes a deep breath. That note. The one supposedly from you, giving them the house. I was there when Lauren talked about forging it. It was about 18 months ago. We were at their house, and I heard her on the phone with a friend. She was talking about how if they ever had to leave the house, she'd make sure they owned it first. She said that? Yes. And she practiced copying your signature. I saw her doing it one night. She had a piece of your stationery, the kind with the little roses. She must have taken it from your things. She practiced writing your name over and over. Why didn't you say something? I ask. Julie's eyes fill with tears. Because she's my sister. Because she threatened to cut me off from the family if I ever said anything against her. Because I was scared. But what she's doing now, trying to get you declared incompetent, that's too far. I can't let it happen. Will you testify? I ask. Julie nods. Yes, but I'm terrified. Lauren will destroy me. She'll turn the whole family against me. Why are you doing this now? I ask. Julie hesitates. Because Lauren and I had a falling out. 2 months ago, I lent her $5,000. She promised to pay me back in 30 days, but she never did. When I asked about it, she got angry. She said I was being greedy, that family doesn't charge family. When I kept pushing, she threatened me. Threatened you how? She said if I didn't drop it, she'd tell everyone I was unstable and turning against the family. She said she'd make sure no one believed anything I said. And I realized that's what she's doing to you. She uses the same tactics on everyone. Julie pulls out her phone. I have text messages from her. From back when she was planning all this. She texted me once, bragging about how easy it is to manipulate people's handwriting. She thought it was funny. She shows me the texts. There, in writing, Lauren discusses forging documents and manipulating situations. It's not a full confession, but it's damning evidence. I'll forward these to you, Julie says, and I'll testify at the hearing. But Mrs. Porter, I need you to know something. Lauren is smart. She'll claim I'm lying because of our money dispute. She'll make it seem like I'm just a bitter sister trying to get revenge. We need more than your testimony, I say. I know, Julie says, but it's a start. After Julie leaves, I call Harold immediately. He arrives at my apartment within the hour. I show him the text messages. He reads them carefully. This helps, he says. But Julie's right. Lauren will claim she's lying. We need something more concrete. What about the hospital records? I ask. Doesn't that prove I couldn't have written the note? It proves you couldn't have written it on that specific date, Harold says. But Stone will argue the date could be wrong. We need definitive proof of forgery. He makes some calls. He hires a new forensic document examiner, one who specializes in detecting forgeries. This one will specifically look at the ink, the paper, the age of the document. This will take time, Harold warns. And money. I don't care, I say. I need to clear my name. Over the next 2 days, the new expert works quickly. He examines the note under special lights, tests the ink composition, analyzes the paper fibers. His report arrives the night before the conservatorship hearing. The ink used on the note is from a pen that wasn't manufactured until 2 years ago. The note is dated 3 years ago. It's physically impossible for the note to have been written when it claims to have been written. It's definitive proof of forgery. But there's a problem. The conservatorship hearing is tomorrow. The house deed transfer deadline is in 6 days. We're running out of time, and Lauren knows it. That night, I receive an anonymous email. The subject line reads, "Evidence you need." I open it with shaking hands. It's security camera footage. The email explains, "I'm your neighbor from across the street. I saw the Facebook posts about your court case. I remembered something seemed off when Lauren was at your house alone while you were in the hospital 3 years ago. I checked my old doorbell camera footage. I hope this helps. I don't want to get involved publicly because I'm afraid of retaliation." I click on the video file. The timestamp shows April 15th, 3 years ago, at 2:47 in the afternoon. The video clearly shows Lauren's car pulling into the driveway of my house. Lauren gets out, looks around nervously, and walks to the front door. She uses a key to let herself in. The video continues. 23 minutes later, Lauren emerges. She's carrying a small bag. She looks around again, gets in her car, and drives away quickly. The timestamp, the date, the time, it all matches. This video proves Lauren was in my house, alone, on the exact date of the forged note, while I was in the hospital unable to write anything. Combined with Julie's testimony, the text messages, the hospital records, the ink analysis, and this video footage, we finally have an airtight case. I forward the video to Harold immediately. He calls me back within minutes. "Candy, this is it. This is what we needed. I'm filing an emergency motion to present new evidence. The conservatorship hearing tomorrow is going to look very different than Lauren expects. I should feel relieved. But I'm just exhausted. Tomorrow, the truth comes out. Tomorrow, I fight back. Tomorrow, I reclaim my life." The courtroom is packed when I arrive the next morning. News of the conservatorship battle has spread through the community. Some people are here out of genuine concern. Others just want to watch the drama unfold. Lauren sits at the defense table with Tyler and Gerald Stone. She's dressed in a simple navy dress, her hair pulled back, looking every bit the concerned, responsible daughter-in-law. When she sees me, she gives me a sad, pitying look, as if I'm a confused, elderly woman who needs her help. Tyler won't meet my eyes. He stares down at his hands. Harold arrives carrying a thick folder of documents and a laptop. Julie slips into the courtroom and sits in the back row, trying to be invisible. Judge Morrison enters, and we all rise. She settles behind her bench and reviews the case file. "We're here for the conservatorship petition filed by Tyler and Lauren Porter," she begins. "However, I understand there's been a motion to present new evidence that's relevant to both this conservatorship case and the previous property dispute." "Mr. Brennan?" Harold stands. "Yes, Your Honor. We have significant new evidence that demonstrates fraud, and we request permission to present it." Gerald Stone stands immediately. "Your Honor, this is a transparent attempt to delay proceedings and muddy the waters. The conservatorship petition stands on its own merits based on Mrs. Porter's recent behavior and documented memory issues." "I'll hear the evidence," Judge Morrison says. "Proceed, Mr. Brennan." Harold presents the hospital records first, showing clearly that I was hospitalized, heavily medicated, and physically unable to write during the date on the supposed gift note. Gerald Stone tries to interrupt, arguing about the date possibly being incorrect, but Judge Morrison waves him off. Let him finish. Next, Harold presents the forensic document analysis showing the ink couldn't have existed 3 years ago. The note is physically impossible to have been written when it claims to have been written. The courtroom murmurs. Lauren's face goes pale, then red. Harold calls Julie to the witness stand. She walks to the front with her head down, not looking at her sister. After being sworn in, Julie testifies about what she witnessed 18 months ago. She describes hearing Lauren on the phone, talking about forging documents. She describes seeing Lauren practice copying my signature. Gerald Stone cross-examines aggressively. "Miss Richards, isn't it true that you and your sister had a recent falling out over money?" "Yes," Julie admits. "And isn't it true that you're testifying here today out of spite, to get back at your sister for refusing to repay a loan?" "No," Julie says firmly. "I'm testifying because what she's doing is wrong. I should have spoken up sooner." "How convenient that you suddenly remembered all these details after your sister refused to give you money," Stone says sarcastically. "It's not convenient," Julie says, her voice shaking but steady. "It's been eating at me for months. I've been terrified to come forward. Lauren threatened me. She said if I ever said anything against her, she'd make sure no one believed me. She said she'd claim I was unstable. She's doing the same thing to Mrs. Porter." Harold presents the text messages from Lauren to Julie. The texts aren't explicit confessions, but they're highly suggestive. One message reads, "You'd be surprised how easy it is to copy someone's writing. Just takes practice and the right pen." Another reads, "Old people forget things all the time. Who's going to question it?" The courtroom is completely silent now. Everyone is watching Lauren, whose face has gone from red to white. Then Harold plays the doorbell camera footage on a large screen. The timestamp is clear. The date is unmistakable. Lauren's car. Lauren entering my house alone while I'm in the hospital. Lauren leaving 23 minutes later with a bag. "What was in that bag, Mrs. Porter?" Harold asks her directly, even though she's not on the stand. Gerald Stone objects. "Your Honor, this is highly irregular." "I'll allow it," Judge Morrison says. She's leaning forward, watching the screen intently. Lauren doesn't answer. She whispers something to Gerald Stone urgently. Harold continues. "The evidence is clear, Your Honor. On April 15th, 3 years ago, Mrs. Candy Porter was in the hospital, recovering from emergency hip surgery, heavily medicated and unable to write. On that same day, at 2:47 in the afternoon, Lauren Porter entered Mrs. Porter's house alone and remained inside for 23 minutes. The note allegedly written by Mrs. Porter is dated that exact same day. The ink in that note didn't exist 3 years ago. The conclusion is inescapable. Lauren Porter forged that note." The judge asks Lauren directly, "Mrs. Porter, can you explain this video footage? What were you doing in the house that day?" Lauren stands, her hands gripping the table. "I was checking on the house, making sure everything was secure while she was in the hospital, that's all." "For 23 minutes?" the judge asks. "I was being thorough." "What was in the bag you were carrying when you left?" Lauren hesitates. "I don't remember. This was 3 years ago." Judge Morrison looks skeptical. She calls for a recess to review all the evidence privately in her chambers. 30 minutes feel like 30 hours. I sit in the hallway with Harold and Julie. Lauren and Tyler sit on the opposite side, not speaking to each other. Tyler looks devastated. Lauren looks furious. When we're called back in, Judge Morrison's expression is stern. After reviewing all the evidence presented today, I am immediately dismissing the conservatorship petition. Mrs. Candy Porter is clearly competent and has been the victim of a malicious and fraudulent scheme. Relief floods through me, but the judge isn't finished. Furthermore, I am reversing my previous ruling regarding the property transfer. The document presented as evidence of a gift was clearly forged. Mrs. Porter's testimony was truthful. Tyler and Lauren Porter obtained that ruling through fraud. Tyler drops his head into his hands. Lauren stands up. Your Honor, this is a mistake. Sit down, Mrs. Porter, Judge Morrison says sharply. I am ordering Tyler and Lauren Porter to vacate the property at 327 Maple Ridge Road within 7 days. The property belongs solely to Mrs. Candy Porter, as it always has. Additionally, I am awarding Mrs. Porter damages for emotional distress in the amount of $30,000. Compensation for all legal fees incurred, which total approximately $18,000, and loss of use of her property for the past 3 months. The total award is $47,000 plus court costs. Lauren makes a sound like a wounded animal. Finally, Judge Morrison continues, her voice cold. I am referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office for criminal investigation. Forgery, fraud, perjury, and attempted financial exploitation of an elderly person are serious crimes. The DA will determine whether criminal charges are appropriate. The gavel falls. The courtroom erupts in noise. People are whispering, gasping, talking. Lauren turns on Tyler. This is your fault, she hisses loud enough for people nearby to hear. You should have controlled your mother better. You should have made sure this didn't happen. Tyler looks at her like he's seeing her for the first time. Controlled my mother? Lauren, you forged a document. You lied in court. You tried to have her declared incompetent. I did it for us, Lauren says. For our family. For our future. You did it for yourself, Tyler says quietly. You've always done everything for yourself. He stands and walks toward me. I freeze, not knowing what to expect. Mom, he says, and his voice breaks. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was blind. I let her manipulate me. I chose her over you. I didn't defend you. I didn't believe you. I'm sorry. Tears stream down his face. He's crying like he did when he was a little boy and fell off his bike. I don't know what to say. The hurt is too deep, too fresh. I know you probably can't forgive me, Tyler continues. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I need you to know I'm going to make this right. I'm going to do whatever it takes. Harold puts his hand on my shoulder. Let's go, Candy. You don't have to deal with this right now. As we leave the courtroom, I glance back. Lauren is arguing with Gerald Stone, gesturing wildly. Tyler sits alone, his head in his hands. Julie catches up with us outside. Mrs. Porter, I'm so glad the truth came out. I'm sorry I didn't come forward sooner. Thank you for finding the courage to testify, I say. That couldn't have been easy. It was the right thing to do, Julie says. Even if it means I've lost my sister. You did the right thing, Harold assures her. The next week passes in a blur. True to the judge's order, Tyler and Lauren move out of my house. Tyler handles it quietly, apologetically. Lauren refuses to speak to anyone, communicating only through her attorney. District Attorney Linda Hernandez announces that her office will be filing fraud and forgery charges against Lauren. The charges carry potential prison time, though Lauren's attorney is already working on a plea deal. Tyler files for divorce 3 weeks later. The papers cite irreconcilable differences. Emma and Paige move back into the house as my tenants. Emma insists on paying fair market rent now, refusing to accept charity. You've been through enough, Aunt Candy. I want to do this right. The house feels different now. It's mine again, legally and completely. But I realize something surprising. I don't want to live there anymore. Too many painful memories linger in those rooms. I keep my small apartment downtown. I visit the house regularly, having tea in my late husband's study, tending the garden. But I don't need to live there to own it. Several neighbors who believed Lauren's lies apologize. Mrs. Patterson brings me cookies. Mr. Garcia offers to help with yard work. I accept their apologies with grace, though the hurt of their betrayal doesn't fade immediately. Betty Marshall from church finally calls. Candy, I'm so sorry. I should have stood by you. I should have testified when you needed me. Thank you for saying that, I tell her. It means a lot. Some relationships can be repaired. Others, like with my sister Diane, seem permanently broken. Diane never apologizes. She sends a brief email saying she was just trying to look out for everyone's best interests. I don't respond. Julie and I develop a real friendship. She comes over for tea every Tuesday. We talk about family, about courage, about standing up for what's right even when it's terrifying. Tyler begins attending therapy. He calls me every Sunday, though our conversations are still awkward. He's working on himself, he says, trying to understand how he let things get so bad. Mom, I know it will take time, he tells me one Sunday afternoon. But I want to rebuild our relationship. I want to be the son you deserved all along. I appreciate that, I say carefully. But Tyler, trust has to be earned back. It doesn't happen overnight. I know, he says. I'll do whatever it takes, however long it takes. 6 months later, I stand in my reclaimed house, looking at old family photos spread across the dining room table. Pictures of Tyler as a baby, as a boy, as a teenager. Pictures of my husband and me on our wedding day, young and hopeful. Pictures of the life we built together in this house. Emma is in the kitchen making dinner. Paige is doing homework upstairs. The sounds of their life fill the house with warmth. Julie arrives for our Tuesday tea, bringing homemade scones. We sit in the study that smells like old books and memories. How are you doing? She asks. Better, I say honestly. Some days are harder than others, but I'm better. The criminal case against Lauren concluded last month. She accepted a plea deal, 5 years probation, 300 hours of community service, and full restitution of the court, ordered damages. She'll have a felony fraud conviction on her record. Her attorney managed to keep her out of prison, but her life is fundamentally changed. Tyler's divorce was finalized 2 weeks ago. He's renting a small apartment across town. He has joint custody of Sophie and Jack. The children visit me now, supervised by Tyler. It's awkward, but it's a beginning. Last Sunday, Sophie hugged me goodbye and whispered, I missed you, Grandma. Those 4 words meant more than any court victory. Tyler has been consistent in his efforts to make amends. He attends therapy twice a week. He started reading books about family relationships and accountability. He calls every Sunday without fail. He doesn't make excuses. He just listens and apologizes and works to be better. I don't know if our relationship will ever be what it was before. The trust is broken. The hurt runs deep. But I see him trying, genuinely trying. And that counts for something. The money from the court judgment helped restore my depleted savings. I'm not rich, but I'm secure again. The stress of financial ruin no longer keeps me awake at night. I sit in my husband's old chair, running my fingers over the armrests he wore smooth over decades. I think about what I've learned through all of this. I learned that knowing your worth isn't selfish. It's survival. For years, I let Lauren treat me like I was nothing, like I was an inconvenience, like I should be grateful for scraps of respect in my own home. I convinced myself that keeping peace was more important than standing up for myself. I was wrong. Setting boundaries isn't cruel. It's necessary. When I finally said no, when I finally reclaimed what was mine, I wasn't being vindictive. I was being human. I was asserting my right to dignity and respect. Sometimes love means letting people face the consequences of their choices. Tyler made his choices. He chose Lauren over me. He chose to believe her lies. He chose to stand by while she tried to destroy me. Those consequences hurt him. Our relationship suffered. But he needed to feel that pain to understand what he'd done. I almost let shame and fear of judgment keep me silent. When the community turned against me, when people I'd known for decades believed Lauren's lies, I almost gave up. I almost accepted the role of the crazy old woman causing trouble. But staying silent would have meant losing everything, not just the house, but myself. I learned that at 68 years old, I can still fight. I can still rebuild. I can still find joy. Age doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you less deserving of respect. It doesn't mean you have to accept being dismissed or diminished. Family isn't always blood. It's the people who stand by you when everything falls apart. Harold, who fought for me when I had nothing to pay him. Emma, who believed me without question. Julie, who risked everything to tell the truth. These people showed me more loyalty than my own son did. I think about the grandchildren sometimes, about how this whole situation affected them. They learned something important, whether they realize it yet or not. That respect isn't given based on convenience. That manipulation has consequences. That standing up for yourself matters. The doorbell rings. It's Tyler with Sophie and Jack for their Saturday visit. This will be the first unsupervised visit since the court case. Tyler asked if he could bring them over, and I said yes. Sophie runs to me and hugs me. Jack is more hesitant, but he smiles. Tyler stands in the doorway, waiting to be invited in. Come in, I say. We spend the afternoon together. It's not perfect. There are uncomfortable silences. There are moments where I see Tyler struggling with guilt. There are moments where I feel the anger rise up in me, remembering everything he put me through. But there are also moments of laughter. Moments where Jack tells me a silly joke. Moments where Sophie shows me a drawing she made. Moments that feel almost normal. When they leave, Tyler pauses at the door. Mom, thank you for giving me another chance. You're my son, I say simply. I'll always love you. But you hurt me deeply, Tyler. That doesn't just go away. I know, he says. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I promise. I don't know if he'll keep that promise. Only time will tell. But I'm willing to see. After they leave, I sit on the porch and watch the sunset. The house behind me stands solid and strong, just like it has for 40 years. My house. My home. Mine. On the kitchen table, next to a vase of fresh flowers Emma brought in, sits the deed to the house. My name clearly printed, properly recorded, undisputed. Sometimes I just look at it to remind myself that this is real. I fought back, and I won. But it was never really about the house. The house is just wood and nails and memories. What I was really fighting for was something much more fundamental. I was fighting for my voice, for my dignity, for my right to exist as a full human being deserving of respect. I was fighting against the idea that being older means being less, that being kind means being weak, that wanting peace means accepting abuse. I learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. When I left that house 6 months ago, placing those keys on the table and walking out in silence, I was terrified. I didn't know what would happen. I didn't know if I'd lose everything. But I knew I couldn't stay. I knew that staying meant accepting a life where I was nothing, where I had no value, where I existed only to serve others. And I learned that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is fight back. Not with violence or cruelty, but with truth, with evidence, with the simple, powerful act of saying, "No, this is wrong. I deserve better." The sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. I think about my husband, about how proud he would be. He always said I was stronger than I thought I was. He was right. Tomorrow, Emma and I are going to plant new roses in the garden. Next week, Julie and I are taking a day trip to the coast. Next month, Tyler wants to take me to dinner for my birthday. Life continues. It's not perfect. It's not easy. But it's mine. I smile, feeling something I haven't felt in years. Not just contentment, but genuine peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing you stood up for yourself, from knowing you survived something that could have destroyed you, from knowing you're stronger than anyone, including yourself, ever imagined. The house is mine, but more importantly, my life is mine. My choices are mine. My future is mine. And that, I realize, is worth fighting for. Now, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to choose between keeping peace and standing up for yourself? Have you ever had to fight for your dignity against people who should have protected you? What would you have done in my situation? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched your heart or made you think about your own boundaries and self-worth, please hit that like button. And if you want to hear more stories about finding strength in difficult times, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late to stand up for yourself, that age is just a number, and that knowing your worth is the most important lesson anyone can learn. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it reminded you that you deserve respect, that your voice matters, and that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is refuse to accept less than you deserve. May you always have the courage to stand up for yourself, and the wisdom to know when it's time to fight back. Take care of yourselves. And remember, you're stronger than you think.